and goal from the 10. Pritchard has the snap. He drops back. He's going to throw that lob. Bradford jumps up. He caught it. Touchdown!
That we need to be at the center of college football, play on center stage, and play in big games. That's the legacy of Stanford football. That's the tradition. That's where this culture is headed.
Hook it to the middle, and it's complete. McCaffrey! Will he score on the first play from scrimmage? Yes!
Welcome back to the Talking Trees podcast, the unauthorized authority on Stanford football. I'm Ross.
And I'm Ryan. Every week during the Stanford football season, we are here to spread the gospel of Stanford football with game previews, game reactions, and general vibes around the program.
Today we've got an awesome episode. Starting off with a great interview with Stanford beat reporter Ben Parker of Cardinal Sports Report from On3, talking a little bit about his insider perspective from the Cardinal post-training camp, and finally, it is, in fact, game week. We'll spend the rest of the pod taking a deeper look at the matchup with the Rainbow Warriors, with a game preview, game predictions, and our favorite prop bets.
So grab your favorite Napa Valley vintage, settle in, and let's get started.
Now it's time to welcome our first guest onto the Talking Tree podcast, Ben Parker of Cardinal Sports Report. Ben is a reporter for On3 and Rivals and covers all things Stanford sports. Make sure to subscribe to his On3 and Rivals. It covers all Stanford sports at cardinalsportsreport.com. Ben, any deals or anything you want to let the listeners know?
Yeah, if you're not already subscribed, if you go to any of the free football content pieces on the site, you'll see a big kind of graphic at the bottom that kind of promotes the deal. It's for the first 7 days. If you subscribe for $1 for the first 7 days, you get to subscribe for $1 for the first 7 days for new subscribers, and that also gets you a year's subscription to The Athletic. A pretty good deal. So definitely check that out if you have not yet subscribed to the site. And then also to all the subscribers that already are subscribed, major shout out. Really do appreciate you. So and it's all there, as you said, so they're all there at cardinalsportsreport.com. So I do try to cover as much Stanford sports as possible.
And you do a damn good job.
Thank you.
I think a bulk of our listeners are already on the board, but for those that are following along and have heard about the podcast on social media and everything, make sure to subscribe. He's the best in the business and does a great job covering everything Stanford sports.
And you get access to the message board, which are the most fun. I mean, there's nothing better than a college football message board because that's exactly the craziest takes.
That's exactly right. There's stuff on the message board that you're not going to see anywhere else, and so that's really a major reason to subscribe. Is get on that board, share your thoughts, and also get some inside scoops and nuggets as well. So yeah,
I mean, we have some great posters too. I would like to highlight like Matt Musquari, Samuel, and McF. James too. Been a great little source of information lately. So shout out to those guys and everyone else on the board. So I think they're worth the price of admission.
Absolutely. And Christian McCaffrey fanboy as well. He's a good one too. Yeah.
He's got a great photo.
So Ben, we know that you're at the press conference on Tuesday with Frank Reich, and I think they brought on Teba and Ben Gulbranson, but just wanted to get your general takeaways from the press conference, anything that, you think we might have missed from the answers or whatever, but the floor is yours.
I think kind of one of the big takeaways from all that is just number one that Ben Gulbranson is a starting quarterback. That's obviously something that we knew going into the press conference that had been reported, and then I still wanted to get confirmation. I got that confirmation last Wednesday night, I think, or Thursday night. But that's number one, is that Gulbranson's ready to go. He had a really good fall camp, and he seemed very calm, cool, and collected in the press conference. He seems excited about the chance to be the starter, all right? And he seems eager to lead this team. So it's a really neat opportunity for him. Final year of college football, and he gets to be a starter for an ACC school. That's pretty cool. And then, Frank Reich, I think he seems to like the progress the team has made from beginning of fall camp until now. He seems to really like the offensive line that they have, and the entire unit he feels has made an improvement from last season. One of the things I did ask him about was they have a couple of starters on the offensive line that are transfers, and Nick Fatig and Nicky Prongos, those two guys. So, hopefully those guys and the entire unit can elevate their game. But he seemed to like where those guys are at. I'm trying to think what else I asked him about. I did ask him, it's more of a small thing, but he seems intrigued by what Chris Davis Jr. can bring in the return game. The running back room is incredibly deep, and so they got to find creative ways to kind of get everybody on the field and give them touches, and CD being a return guy is a way to do that for him. And then for Teva Tafiti, he's kind of a man of few words. If you hear him interview, he doesn't say a whole lot, but you can tell he's excited to be back playing at Hawaii, where he's from. I believe he's a Punahou grad, however you pronounce that high school. I think he went there to high school, so he's excited to be back. And yeah, just kind of, generally speaking, kind of the vibes in the press conferences. It's a new season. It's a new day. They're really excited to get this thing going in week 0, and they really feel an opportunity here.
I get the impression that Frank doesn't reveal too much in his press conferences, similar to Troy Taylor.
Yeah, he's pretty discreet, right? You kind of ask him stuff, and he doesn't really reveal a whole lot. Yeah. I mean, all these coaches in general, a lot of them try to some are better than others. Some are better than others, but yeah, Frank Reich kind of tries to stick to kind of sharing his little, in terms of not giving away secrets. He's very careful with that. Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Gobranson's demeanor. I think a lot of people were a little curious, does he give off that super alpha leadership vibe, or is he more of a quiet leader? What did you think?
It's a good question. It's kind of hard to say. I think he comes across as kind of more of a quiet, kind of laid back type of leader. But at the same time, I think that he's somebody who, and this is why he won the starting job, is he's a guy who the guys have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in, right? This is a guy who's played a lot of football. He's been through a lot of fall camps. I do think this is something that was highlighted in the press conference. I can't remember who asked this, but this is the first season where, week 1, week 0, he's the starter going into the season. So I think the season where he went 7-1 with Oregon State, I think it was, he wasn't the starter the entire season. So that's kind of unique for him. But he's played a lot of football, right, and has won a lot of games. And I think he's somebody that really kind of has shined through with his experience and just his knowledge of the game. I think he's picked up on the playbook really well, and is somebody that really knows what he's doing out there. And so I don't think he doesn't really strike me as somebody that's maybe the most fiery of leaders, but I think he's somebody that's kind of cool, calm, collected, and somebody who really knows what he's doing. And I think that gives the players around him a lot of confidence. And that's also something that gives, obviously, the coaching staff a lot of confidence as well.
Reminds me of Davis Mills and his demeanor. Kind of cool, calm, collected.
Very similar.
Hopefully it gives us the same performance.
Yeah, it's a hope, right?
Any other comments you want to leave about the intro press conference before we move on to the next topic?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I think both Gulbranson and Tafiti, and obviously, he's a man of few words, Teva Tafiti, but this is a guy that they really are hoping is going to have a big season this year. A guy that really can make plays in the backfield, getting sacks, getting TFLs, forcing turnovers, right? So, Teva Tafiti is somebody who, when you hear him interviewed, you might be fooled, but the guy's really, really good. And those edge rushers, that pass rush, I think, is something that Stanford is going to really hope to rely on this year.
Great. So let's talk about the progression coming, as someone who's been around the program for a little bit now, the progression from spring to summer to fall camp. Specifically, what has Frank Wright and Andrew Luck brought to this team that you would say is the biggest difference from the spring to fall?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to talk, and there's kind of two things that come to mind. First of all, it's kind of sort of an intangible thing. They've brought a lot of belief and hope, right? And I know people on the board have gotten a little tired of just hearing all about that. Right? It's great. They're selling hope. Everyone's excited. Andrew Luck's bringing good vibes. He's a Cardinal legend. But no, I mean, but at the same time, you don't want to also brush over that too much, because that really is important. This is a program that's won. It's gone 3-9, 4 seasons in a row. And so, and anything that can give hope and give a sense of positive direction is something you really want. So But I think as something that's more tangible and something that you can kind of touch, if you will, and point to specifically, it just is the fact that they're running an and they haven't, and they won't get into specifics of me, but on the offensive side at least, they're running a very NFL style offense, and there's definitely been changes made to the playbook. I think going into the season, I think there were some questions about how much would change, just given the time of the hire, but there's been enough changes made to the playbook that guys have really had to kind of dive in and relearn a lot of stuff. So I think that in terms of biggest differences, I think kind of bringing more of an NFL style playbook and NFL style approach, and not just playbook and scheme, but also NFL approach to practice, right? Like practice was early morning during fall camp. And, I think that's what, kind of made it a more intense fall practice for them, was the fact that we're getting up earlier and really we're treated like a more kind of NFL training camp. And so I think that just kind of bringing the NFL mentality and up in intensity, I think is something that has been noticeable.
It's awesome. Good to hear. I mean, we expected when you bring in Frank Reich that we were going more towards a pro style offense and more, Cardinal fans are definitely accustomed to that. So happy to hear that we're going back to the pro style offense. I guess, we wanted to get you've been around the program all camp. So wanted to see really two things. One, what's a name that stood out the most just from what you've been able to see in practice? A player that's kind of stood out to you, and if you've seen any kind of underrated players that Cardinal fans may not be expecting much from, but you think will deliver this year?
Yeah, I mean, one guy who has really stood out in fall camp is Caden High. I'm hoping to interview him today. I requested him, so hopefully that will come through. He's looked really good by all accounts and has sort of earned that number 2 receiver spot. Transferred from South Carolina State, really a speedy wide receiver. So his speed has really stood out. So I think he's one guy to really keep an eye on. Another guy, as well, that maybe hasn't gotten a ton of love, but I've tried to highlight a little bit is the Dartmouth corner transfer, Jordan Washington. He's gotten a couple shout outs. When I interviewed Charlie Meyer a couple weeks back, he noted him as somebody that's made an impact. And so he's listed as a co-starter at corner with Brandon Nicholson. So I think they're going to really rely upon him for just due to his experience in the secondary. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. And then, the entire running back unit's going to be really, I think maybe we're going to talk about them a little later, but the entire running back unit's looking interesting. But kind of two newcomers names that I think Cardinal fans should be aware of if they haven't been following the program super closely, if they're not aware of who the transfers are. I think on offense, Caden High, and then defense, Jordan Washington. Those two.
Awesome. Do you, from players that Cardinal fans may be used to knowing, at least were on the roster last year, maybe some freshmen, who do you expect to make the biggest leap from last year to this year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think Micah Ford's a guy who has, by all accounts, had a really good fall camp and spring. So the running back, so he's a freshman last year, he's going to be a sophomore this year. He's looking like running back 1. I mean, going back to running backs again, Cole Tabb, similar kind of deal. By all accounts, looked really good. Had a really good fall camp as a sophomore. So those are two guys that I think should make an impact and elevate their game. And then, Sam Roush is a senior now at tight end. And, he was good. He's always been good, but he hasn't really had like an amazing, season in terms of like massive numbers put up. And so, I think he's another guy that you're kind of hoping kind of finally have a breakout season and have a season in which he's able to kind of elevate his name into NFL draft board conversation. So those are guys that come to mind on the offensive side. And then defensively, I've talked a lot about him on the board and whatnot, but Jay Green, the safety, transfer from Washington, injured his knee after a couple games last year. I think he got injured in the Clemson game last year, but he's back. He's healthy. He's, by all accounts, really making an impact on the defense, both with his physicality and just his knowledge of the defense and ability to communicate. So he's a guy in the defense that I think is going to have an opportunity to really make an impact and a difference.
Yeah, I think Ross and I talked about that in our last podcast, that it felt like there was a change in the entire team when Jay Green went down against Clemson. It felt like from then on out, the defense just never looked the same.
Yeah.
So I think having him back is going to be a huge bonus. And then staying healthy throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
I think with the portal, the idea of depth isn't the way it used to be, right? Where you'd have, a lot more depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, staying healthy is such a big important, like, a part of how this season goes. I guess our next question is, who did you think made the biggest leap from spring to fall camp? Hopefully any offensive linemen.
Yeah. Offensive linemen are a little harder to track just in terms of, I don't get to watch a ton, unfortunately, in terms of live action. I mean, I think obviously the fact that both Nicky Prongos and that both Prongos and Fatig, those two guys, Nick Fatig and Nicky Prongos, are both starters, indicates that they made progress in the spring and they earned those jobs, right? So that's good. Another guy that, has kind of been plugging along, getting better, is Fisher Anderson. He's a guy as a redshirt junior, fourth year in the program, that just seems to keep getting better incrementally and has earned his way into being a backup and somebody that they're going to rely upon to come in and get some snaps for them. So he's made some progress, I think, made some strides in his game. I'm trying to think who else has made an improvement. Yeah, I mean, all the running backs already mentioned have made improvements, have made progress. I'm trying to think who else.
I mean, shout out to Miles Libman.
Yeah, I mean, he's made an impact. Another guy I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Jordan Onuvwe as well, wide receiver. I think he's number 2 on the 2 deep right now. He's had a really good fall. He came in, I think we were kind of not sure how good he was going to be, right, or what to expect from him, because he didn't really produce much at Colorado, and then Coach Prime kind of gave him a shout out on the way out. But he's seems to have had a good camp and good spring, considering the fact that he's number 2 in the 2 deep. So Jordan Onuvwe is another guy, and yeah, Miles Libman, I gotta tell you, he looks like a guy that will catch some passes this year and make an impact. I'm trying to think who else. Another guy to mention is Chico Holt. Chico Holt was out for all of last season due to his, I believe, his ACL and some, I think, meniscus as well. Both of those, I think, he tore up. But he's back, and he should add some depth to the tight end room and get a lot of snaps. So Chico Holt, I actually talked to him last week. And then another guy too. This interview, it's already on my YouTube channel, and it's going to drop on the article's going to drop soon, either tonight or tomorrow morning. Benedict Dume has made tremendous progress physically. He looks great. Incredible story, right? He's looked really good, and he's feeling confident. And from my interview with him, what really kind of stood out was he seems to be feeling pretty good physically. It's really more just kind of the mental side of the game, kind of getting that up to speed there. So yeah, Benedict Dume, there's some depth in the defensive line room, so I'm not sure how much we'll see of him, but he's looking really good, and certainly is a guy that at some point is going to be called upon to make a major impact on the defense, whether it's this year or next.
That's awesome. Yeah, we saw some pictures from him from camp, and he looks like an absolute freak. So really,
he is.
To see him.
He's a nice guy too. He's a really nice guy too. So that's what's fun about it. It's like he's this absolute freak, but you talk to him, he's like the nicest dude. So you love people like that. Yeah.
I know you got to run to practice here, so we'll try to wrap things up here quickly. But really wanted to take some time for you to isolate 2 position groups, so one on offense and one on defense that you think are going to be the strengths of the program this year.
Just to understand the question, you mean like as in pick a unit on offense and defense?
Yeah, pick a unit on offense, pick a unit on defense. And
okay.
Who's going to be, I guess, the strongest position group on either side of the ball?
Yeah, for offense, that one's, I think, pretty easy. It's running back. There's just so much depth there. And not just depth, but talent, right? Like, I mean, it's amazing. Like I can't remember which year it was. I'm trying to, it was the final big game that David Shaw coached when Mitch Lieber had to play running back because they were that. It was a year after, I think. I mean, it was my first big game covering Stanford, I think. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you obviously want to have depth there, so they have that. But then on top of having depth at running back, I mean, all 6 of the running backs are guys that can make plays. All 6 of them. Micah Ford is really, really good. He's a big physical back. He can punish, run through guys. And then, Cole Tab is shifty and quick and also strong and powerful in his way. And Tuna Altahir is just a big body, tough to bring down. And then Cedric Irvin brings some shiftiness and elusiveness. And being a junior, he's got some experience, right? And then, Chris Davis, Very elusive, very quick, very fast. As I mentioned earlier, he's going to be in the return game. And then, Champ Hampton, now that he's ditched baseball, he's really kind of focusing on the football side, and he's looking good. So it's one of those situations where it's like, not only is there depth, but like there's good guys that might have to kind of wait to get their turn. So the running back room, that's easy. That's if the offensive line and tight ends can block for them, the running back room could really take some pressure off the quarterbacks in the passing game. As far as the defense is concerned, if I had to pick a unit that I think is probably the deepest, the best unit, I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. I'm going to say just the entire secondary. I mean, I could probably, if I had to pick between the two, I might say the safeties, but I mean, Colin Wright is, probably the most talented guy in the secondary. I mean, so I just think kind of the secondary as a whole, both the corners and the safeties, just the entire defensive back unit, has really a chance to anchor to really help his defense out. Colin Wright is somebody that should be able to go up against the best receivers in the conference. We've already mentioned Jay Green. Now he could be a real program changer for the defense. And, Scotty Edwards and Mitch Lieber are both really good safeties. And then Jordan Washington brings a lot of experience as an all Ivy League guy. Cam Richardson's another guy, who's looked good, who's backing up right on the 2 deep. And then you've also got Brandon Nicholson, who I mentioned, and the other guys too that I, haven't given much shout out to, but have been looking good, making strides. Guys like Jalen Jai-Samlin and Dante Utu and Osani Gaines, these guys. So there's a lot of depth there in the secondary. And so if those guys can get some help from the linebackers and the defensive line, then that's a unit that should be able to be very difficult to go deep on and should be able to force some turnovers and get some interceptions. So I think that the secondary unit, if they can get some help, has a chance to make a real impact.
I really hope that your prediction comes true, because our pass defense has been borderline atrocious the last 4 years. So hoping that and I know they've been dealing with injuries and playing young players. So, I mean, I hope that we see improvement this year with another year of experience for the young guys and some transfers coming in. So excited to see what the defensive backfield can do this year. I know we got to wrap soon, so let's finish on this. Score predictions for Hawaii. What do you have?
Man, I don't really give a lot of thought. I would say I do think I would expect Stanford to win, just given the fact that they're an ACC school and they also beat Hawaii last time they were there. So beating Hawaii doesn't necessarily indicate an improved season. I'll say Stanford. I'll say Stanford wins 28-24.
I like it.
There we go.
I like it. Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ben.
Have fun at practice. And for all the listeners, make sure you subscribe to Cardinal Sports Report on 3.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here on the podcast. Hope to be on again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Welcome back to the pod after a great interview with Ben. It was great talking with him, getting his insider take on the Cardinal. If anyone is around the program more than him, let me know. I don't know if anyone has access like he does. So make sure to subscribe to Cardinal Sports Report. The message boards are awesome, and he does a great job over there on 3.
Ross and I are posters on there. We enjoy the information we get from the board. There's some really, I think I mentioned it in the interview, some great posters who provide some great insights. So I think it's worth every penny.
What do you say we get into the preview?
Let's do it.
So the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, our 4th contest with them in history.
5.
The last time 5th.
5.
The 5th in Stanford football history. Most recently, Troy Taylor's first game back in 22.
Could you imagine going back to that? Like, our vibes after that game were so good. They're like, oh, we're back.
Yeah.
Shaw era is over. We just put up a bunch of points. I mean, if it wasn't for like a last-minute touchdown, it would have been like a 20-point win.
Yeah. I don't know. We were favored by probably like a 1.5 there, right?
Yeah,
it was a close spread, I remember. Very
close, and they just pumped them. And then I got to be honest, I think we have a better team going over this time than we did last time.
I do too. We'll get into that. 2:30 kickoff Honolulu time, 4:30 kickoff Pacific, 7:30 for you East Coasters out there. Prime time CBS, looking forward to being on prime time, right? Stanford the last 4 years really hasn't had the opportunity to get the limelight, and we have a big opportunity on our hands. I think we're all a little bit eager, a little bit nervous, to be honest, to see what this version of Stanford, the Andrew Luck era, if one could say, what we're going to look like. And, I think there's expectations. Actually, I don't think there are expectations.
They're pretty low expectations if they are.
There's some low expectations from outside of the program. I think from Cardinal fan perspective, I believe that there is an intangible vibe shift that has to kick in here. I think we got a lot of returning talent, and overall, I truly believe that, while we may not have the top end high caliber talent that we have in the last 2 years, 3 years, I think the average talent on like the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, right? So we'll see if that translates to wins here, especially as we kick off here in Honolulu.
I think every Stanford fan just wants to get back to a day and age when we outplayed our talent ranking. And I think it's been a couple of years since that happened. I think that this is a great opportunity for a program that's received a lot of media attention over the last couple months, specifically around Andrew Luck and his reemergence into the spotlight from his time in Indiana. I think it's a great opportunity to show everyone that we're ready to compete and that we want to win again. That the past 4 years of averaging 3 and 9 is just not acceptable. And I have a lot of confidence in Frank Reich. I watched a lot of shows recently, and I just don't think people give Frank the credit he deserves. I mean, I think everyone's like, well, Carolina and Bryce Young and whatever. I'm like, he's still an NFL head coach for 6 seasons. I mean, he won a Super Bowl. He's accomplished a significant amount, and I think he deserves a little more respect than he's received. So I'm excited to see him show that on prime time.
Should we dig in a little bit? I'll give you guys a little preview of both the Hawaiian offense and defense. Starting out with the offense, ranked 89th last year, led by the 23rd ranked passing attack. Overall strengths on the roster, I think they've got a solid receiving core. Weakness, I don't necessarily think they have the bodies up front that Stanford's going to see throughout this season in the ACC and beyond. Question mark, I would say, is quarterback. Brandon Shager is gone, who is a pretty prolific quarterback over there on the islands. But new quarterback, I think they announced him as a starter last week, Micah Alihado. Played the final 2 games or 3 games of the season last year, showed a lot of promise. We were listening to a Hawaii football podcast the other day, and it sounds like he kind of went off in the last game of the season last year against New Mexico for about 500 yards, no interceptions, 70% completion percentage. On the shorter end of quarterbacks, I think he's
5'9".
9.
We love that. Short kings.
Yeah, 5'9". I'm pretty sure he went to Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas, so he is accustomed to high-level football. It's a great high school football program out there. But we'll see. He's an inexperienced quarterback going up against a pretty experienced defensive front, hodgepodge of experience in the secondary. So excited to see that matchup. You want to talk about receivers?
Yeah. I did want to clarify, and I haven't seen this mentioned. New Mexico's defense was really bad. Like, I know we give Stanford a hard time, but New Mexico's was. And so let's see how it goes against some P4 corners. And it's a little bit more difficult when, Tafiti's bearing down on you, Ernest Cooper's coming at you, Clay Patterson. I mean, those are some big boys. Stuff, with size that New Mexico may not have. So it's going to be, I think, a little bit more of a challenge for him. But at wide receiver, I think they have Ashlock coming back. He had 83 grabs, but never seemed to be healthy. They did lose Crowdis for Wisconsin. I think that really hurts them. And then they brought in Brandon White from Kentucky. I was listening to their writer talk that they didn't think he was probably up there just yet. But Jackson Harris, a familiar name for Stanford fans, former 4-star recruit from Berkeley, had transferred from Stanford to Hawaii. He's listed as wide receiver 3. I'm not as sold on their wide receiver room, I think, has a lot of prominent talking heads. Jackson is a great kid. He was a great football player for Stanford, but he could never really crack into the lineup. And I don't think he would be wide receiver 3 on this team right now. But
yeah, I think Ashlock is a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him two or 3 years ago whenever we ended up playing them. He's a talent.
Absolutely.
I think he is a power 4 quality talent. Now, what do they have past him? I'm unclear. I think, Jackson Harris had flashes of brilliance in his short.
That one catch versus Washington is like the higher. He was like 40% of his production was one play against Washington.
This is a great catch. But we'll see. All the pundits are saying that this is the strongest receiving core in the Mountain West. So Regardless, it'll be a good test of our defensive backfield pretty early on in the season. Looking at the O-line, it's getting reworked a little bit. I think they returned veteran center Ethan Spencer. He'll be leading the way there. But overall, I think the front 5 needs to improve if Hawaii and Tibi Chang really want to get this run and shoot offense moving. They averaged, I think, 3 yards per carry last year. So not a huge run blocking offense. And with a shorter quarterback, he is more mobile just based off what we've heard. I have to believe that our defensive front is going to get after him a little bit. And we'll see if they can hold up.
Clay Patterson going off. I think this is his welcome to the show moment. I thought he looked really good last year, and he'll have a really good opportunity to take advantage of a experienced offensive line.
Shifting over to the defense, a pretty strong defense, at least
for Hawaii. Historically,
for Hawaii, they return a lot of talent, especially in the defensive backfield. I think DB, specifically safety, looks very good, led primarily by Peter Manuma, who's a preseason first-team All Mountain West safety, ranked, I think, a top 100 PFF safety in the country last year. So, he's going to be good flying around the football field there. I think he had, what did he have?
87 sacks, you said, and 3 picks in 2 years? That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that seems like, sacks for, I think that's tackles.
87 tackles, there we go.
Tackles, 3 picks. Regardless, I think he's going to be a pretty good player for them, both in the passing game and in rush defense. So keep an eye out for him. Looking at their D-line, I think this is the weakest position group on their defense. They return a lot in the linebacking room, so I think their linebackers and their secondary are going to be pretty solid. But up front, I think there will be an opportunity for Stanford to hopefully establish the running game. We'll get into the keys of the game here shortly, but I think it's a advantageous position to be in early out of the gate to go up against this Hawaiian defensive line.
I agree. Hawaii's PFF grade, though, was largely supported by Cam Stones, who, wow, I had never heard of him, but talk about a talent. He was I think, number 6 overall in all of college football for DBs, so that's a big loss for them. It'll be curious to see how they fill that hole. And the other thing is, how are they going to get to the quarterback? I don't think either of us is saying that Stanford has world-beating offensive line, but if they can't find ways to get pressure, Ben Gilbranson has the talent and the mental side of the game to make them pay. And it doesn't really matter how good your coverage is. If you can't use all day, it's easier for a quarterback.
Looking at it from the Stanford perspective a little bit, just talking about key matchups here. The first matchup we want to call out is Colin Wright versus Ashlock, right? I think it'll be pretty critical early on to see if Wright can shut down Ashlock. And I know they rotate him between the slot and the outside receiving position, so I don't think he's going to be up against him the whole time. But when he is up against Ashlock, I hope that we see Wright establish himself as one of the better cornerbacks in the ACC.
Yeah, I agree. I think if our corners can lock down their top 2 wide receivers, I don't really think they have much for tight end. So it's their tight end and Jackson Harris, I guess, are going to try to beat us. And I feel pretty confident about our safeties and, interior linebackers winning those battles.
Other matchup, Sam Roush against safety Manuma.
Mm-hmm.
We called this out particularly because they're going to go up both in the passing game and in the rush game. I think Ben alluded to it earlier. This is a critical year for Sam to establish himself as one of the better tight ends in the country. We've seen glimpses of it in seasons past, specifically in that Wake Forest game. He had an amazing touchdown grab and run, and you could kind of see the shades of the old Stanford tight ends in him a bit. But whether it be the offense that he was in or poor quarterback play, you didn't really ever get to see Sam establish himself as that elite player. Really excited to see in this new offense, a offense that should highlight our depth at tight end and our talent at tight end, give him the opportunity to kind of open up the field, stretch the field a bit, and give us a dynamic weapon there.
Yeah, the last time we played them, I think Jurassic had a huge game against them because we matched up our tight ends against their linebackers, and we just had way more physical talent. So I'm hoping we can kind of do the same thing this time. I'd love to see Blackburn, maybe make some moves in space. I'm also kind of curious to see how Brendan Doyle does as a blocker. That seemed to be a big theme throughout camp, is that he is a physical, nasty dude, and he loves to hit. So having an extra body on the line is going to be really helpful.
Current line, what is it, 2.5?
Yeah, Hawaii. We are the underdog against a G5.
We are the underdog.
What you can't see is me making ridiculous faces right now.
Yeah, and to call out one of our posters on Cardinal Sports Report, he pulled up on a neutral site. Sagarin would have us favored by 4.5, and SP Plus would have us favored by 5.5. Yet Vegas currently says that we're underdogs by 2.5. So they're either giving a lot of points there in terms of traveling and home field advantage, or there's some disconnect. And I don't know. I kind of have a sneaking suspicion feeling to bet the house on the Card money line. But I always do. So
I will say Vegas might be slightly pessimistic because of how bad Stanford's been against the spread the last couple of years. I think we were 2-10 last year against the spread. So they're probably a little hesitant to give us the benefit of the doubt until some sort of improvement is shown. But those are always the best opportunities to bet. When a program like an Arizona State starts turning around after being so bad against the spread, because then you could start beating the spread a bunch. So I would keep an eye on that.
Opportunities are there to make some money this year. We'll see. That's all we got from a Hawaii perspective. I guess one other thing, just in general on Hawaii, Timmy Chang, it's his 4th year as head coach, legendary quarterback for Hawaii back in the early 2000s in the mold of the run and shoot offense. I think, he's done a pretty decent job of retaining Hawaiian talent in the state of Hawaii and making sure that, not there. I don't think they'll ever be able to keep the 4 and 5-star guys in Hawaii, but the mid-level 3-star, high 3-star guys are starting to stay in Hawaii. So I do think the roster is a little bit more talented than the first time that we saw them back in 2021. And I think Timmy Chang's doing a good job. But if you look at the roster, it's just, we should win. I think from a talent perspective, if we do play up to our talent levels, just looking at it on paper, this should be a win for the Cardinal. And, it's obviously going to be really hard playing over there. They've got a sold-out crowd already. It's going to be a whiteout. Primetime CBS game, their opening game. Don't love playing at Hawaii to open up the season, to be honest. Thank you, Bernard Maria, for that one. But, it's going to be a challenge, and excited to watch on Saturday.
I agree. Yeah, I think one thing we should add too is that they recently hired Dennis Thurman, the famous USC and pro football player. He was the one responsible. I wouldn't say responsible as much as he helped Deion Sanders resurrect Jackson State's defense. And then he followed him to Colorado, where he was like the head defensive analyst, but not the defensive coordinator. Now, how much of that was just Jackson State out recruiting everyone versus actual drawing up plays? We'll find out, I guess. But he's 35 years of coaching experience. So it's going to be a really fun battle watching Frank Wright's NFL style, pro style offense going against Thurman's coverage type D from the DC point. So I think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. We'll learn a lot about the team. I really want to see guys compete for a full 60 minutes.
Yep. All right. Let's head into our next segment here, game predictions. So what we're going to do here is basically going to say, not prediction, but what do we hope to see? And both of us will have one point to cover from offense, defense, and then overall. So Ryan, do you want to start us off with what you hope to see from the offense on Saturday?
I would love to see, at least hope to see, significant improvement on the offensive line. I believe that Ben Gulbranson has shown that he's a solid quarterback. I feel like our running back room has shown that they can be competent. Same with the tight end. A little unsure about wide receiver, but yeah, my thing is going to be, I want to see better blocking up front. I want to see holes opening up. I want to see time for a quarterback. And I want to see, just some continuity between like growth from last season to this season on the offensive line.
Well,
what about you?
I was going to say the same thing. I think the number one thing that I'll be looking for from an offensive perspective is push from the offensive line in the running game. It'll be very clear and apparent early on, and Stanford fans watching, look at the line of scrimmage. If the Red Hats are getting a push off the line of scrimmage, we're in for a good game. If not, early on, I think we're going to have to be a little cautious about the season prospects, but both of us talking about O-line, it all starts at the O-line. So now defensively, what's one thing you hope for on Saturday?
I would love to see an interception. Supposedly Alejandro has not thrown one since his junior year of high school. So, maybe Scotty Edwards, pick six. I don't know. Just saying, that'd be kind of fun. And then, Colin Wright just showing out. I predict he'll get it. If you can get a prop bet on him getting a pick, I think this is going to be his welcome to the stage moment too.
Good call out. I'm going to go up front, and I want our D-line to dominate. Mm-hmm. I think this is our best D-line in the last probably 3 seasons. They're old, they're experienced, big-bodied. I want to see a pass rush. I want to see, similar to what I was saying on offense, I do not want to see Hawaii's offensive line getting a push up front.
Absolutely.
So I want stout in the run game, and I really want to see our edge get after the quarterback. This is a young quarterback, inexperienced quarterback. We need to get after him, rattle him up a little bit, get Teva on him, get Ernest Cooper on him, and just be relentless, right? And really kind of dictate the terms of the game from that perspective.
And getting hands up too, right? I mean, he's not a big quarterback. So I guess another, key to the game is going to be who's going to keep an eye on him in case he does escape the pocket. And I feel pretty confident we have some fast inside linebackers. But, I think it's really on, Zach Roll, Anthony Franklin, Emo, Clay Patterson to get their hands up on the line and bat down balls and make his life more difficult. So before, if Tafiti can't get there in time, at least making it so he's making difficult throws through protection.
100%. All right. 1 point overall. What are you looking to see and what are you hoping to see on Saturday overall?
My boy is Emmett Kenny, right? We're talking about a northern kid, North Dakota, which I love. We need more Canadians. We need more North Dakotans. I want to see him hit a 50-plus. I think that would be fun. So big shout out to – and I would love to see – I know we've talked about this, a punt inside the 20. Oh my God, if I have to watch another 4th down fail in our own end, we'll lose my, and I don't think I have to worry about that anymore.
Be careful what you wish for, because we were punting on the 35-yard line with Shaw. So be careful.
Yeah, that was not pretty. People still remember that.
Yeah. No, Emmett's going to be a big weapon this year. I think my kind of overall what I'm hoping to see from the team on Saturday is complementary football. And I know that's kind of a cop-out here, but I want to see long, sustained offensive drives, and I want to see 3-and-outs on defense. I do not want to see big plays on defense. I want to see some turnovers, but more consistency, right? I want to see long, sustained drives. I want to see, 3rd and short situations on offense, not 3rd and long situations where you get bailed out by A.O. Manor, which we don't have this year. And defensively, I just want to see consistent pressure on the quarterback. I think that'll be a key to the game. But to sum it up, it's I want to see complimentary Stanford football on Saturday.
I agree. I think that's a big part of the game that we need to see. And then finally, I think that we should mention like just seeing guys engaged, right? It's felt like it's been a couple of years since we had some dogs that just they were ready to go on the sideline. They wanted to hit. They wanted to play. I mean, I think I've referred to it before, but that video where I think it was the Taylor's first home win, like they gave a game ball and no one really cheered or seemed to care. Like that was just so rough to watch. So everything I've heard from Ben and on the message boards is that it's a much different vibe at camp. Guys really have bought into Andrew and Frank's plan. So I think just seeing some toughness and some, playing with your hair on fire would be really nice too.
Yeah, I want to see Stanford football. I want to see us impose our will.
Oh, give me some 13-14. Just pound the ball,
I want to see fiery guys that celebrate, and I'm just hoping that we see a little fire out of the team, and I'm just really excited to see Stanford football too.
Amen.
I'm hoping for a dub. All right, one more segment before we wrap up here. Prop bets. What do we got, Ryan?
Okay, we got Cole Tab TD plus 270. So the TDs listed, Cole Tab was the least likely to get a TD. I'm not sure I would bet on that one. I see Cole Tab in maybe passing downs and earlier in the field where he has more room to run. So I'm probably not going to take that one. But there's also Sam Roush TD. So I like that one at plus 260. So it's almost the same odds as Cole. And Jurasic made easy work of this Hawaii secondary last time. I think they're better now, but Sam Roush is a beast. I really like that. But I also want to point out Blackburn might be a good option. If they're running, two tight end formation, Sam is going to get a lot of attention. And Benji's, he's an athlete. He's got good hands. Yeah. He could definitely, if you can find a prop bet with him as a TD, I would take that.
I'm officially making a prediction. We are going to see on the first drive, it'll be 2nd and 6 from the 6-yard line. We're going to run Spider 2, Y Banana to Sam Roush for the first touchdown of the year. Calling it right now.
Just an ode to Andrew Luck and John Gruden.
Book it.
Still one of the greatest interviews of all time. I love those two together.
Yeah. What else we got, Ryan?
Let's see. We got Micah Ford is the favorite for the touchdown at minus 120, which is actually pretty low odds, considering that Stanford running backs did not score a touchdown last season.
You don't say.
I don't know how you do that. I mean, looking back at that, that's a ridiculous stat. Have you ever heard of that?
I would love to see a stat on college football teams that have not had a running back score in an entire season. I think
it's a short list.
I think we'd be up there. Yeah.
All right. And then finally, we have the Hawaii quarterback has under 2.5 TDs, minus 170. So I think that means that they're expecting 3 or more, which, I mean, I could see in garbage time. I don't know. I feel
What's the total?
It's set for 50.5, and the under is actually favored. Yeah, I would be shocked if it goes over 51, but who knows? What about you? Any thoughts on the quarterback for Hawaii and how he's going to do against the DBs?
I don't know, man. It's we're kind of going into the unknown here. I know he played pretty well against New Mexico. I think he's inexperienced still. I think he's small. I think it'll be very critical to get pressure on him early in the game. Do not let him get into rhythm. I think he is a pretty accurate quarterback. He had a 70% completion percentage against New Mexico. So I think he's kind of a dink and dunk, like Drew Brees, maybe style quarterback a little bit. And I think it'll be critical to get in his face early and often. Do not let him get into rhythm and make him make mistakes.
Agreed.
Right? So I'm hoping Teva has a homecoming weekend of sorts, gets in his face. I hope we see a lot of Ernest Cooper in the backfield, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to see the boys out there compete, and we've been waiting a long off season to see this, and it's the return of the prodigal son, Andrew Luck, and I think we all have faith in Andrew to resurrect this program. I think it starts on Saturday.
Yep.
And I cannot be more excited to tune in to CBS Primetime.
Yep. No, it'll be great. I think there's going to be some specials they've already filmed featuring Andrew and Frank. So those will be fun to listen to and see what they have to say. I think the boys are leaving Thursday morning for Hawaii. So they'll have almost most of the day Thursday to relax, get some sleep, Friday walk through, and then Saturday game day. I think that's fine. I think they went a little bit earlier last time, but I don't think there's really a need. I mean, it's not that big of a jump from California compared to like if someone was coming from Denver.
We also don't have school right now, so it's a little easier on travel, not having to worry about class and homework and all that. So the boys should be ready to go. I'm excited.
God, I just want to watch football.
I just want to watch football, and I can't wait. And for all the Stanford fans that are going to Honolulu, be loud, wear Cardinal red, make your presence known. I'm excited to see the big crowd of Stanford fans. I remember watching the game 3 years ago. I was kind of blown away at how many Stanford fans made the trek out there. But I know that they're already talking about some alumni events out there and everything. So excited to see a big contingent out there and making some noise for the return of the prodigal son, Andrew Luck. Yeah. So
I think there's a pretty good alumni base in Honolulu. I think they have over 500 people or something. So that definitely helps. Yeah, no, it'll be fun. And make sure you tell your, friends and family about the Talking Trees podcast.
Oh, of course.
It's all people can talk about right now. It's how great the Talking Trees podcast is. Share us on your social media. We're on Instagram, on X.
We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're everywhere, baby.
I don't think we can do Reddit, but if we could do Reddit, we would do Reddit as well. But yeah, follow us, and then also give us a review. Let us know your thoughts. If there's things we can do better. If you'd like us to talk about other things. We really don't cover other areas of college football, though we might as the season goes on. It feels like our episodes are already an hour long. We're excited to see where the season goes.
Yeah. And then just from a programming perspective, hoping to have a recap episode after hopefully a win on Saturday, posted sometime either Monday morning or Sunday evening, whenever we get around to it. If it's a win, I'm sure it'll be earlier. If it's a loss, I'm sure it'll be later.
Yep.
But overall, just excited to continue this and give the Stanford fans what they need, which is more of Stanford football. We're happy to provide that to you guys. And, from the farm to wherever you're listening, this is Ross.
And this is Ryan.
Signing off. Go Card.
Fear the tree, baby. Beat the Warriors.
Beat the Warriors.